Good morning, Dan and Amy. Welcome back from your extended Labor Day weekend. What's the violence tally in Chicago, Amy?
11 people were killed over the Labor Day weekend and 37 others were wounded, including an 80-year-old man and a pregnant woman and her boyfriend, and the list goes on and on.
And that's following on the deadliest August, the deadliest month in Chicago in 20 years. That was the month of August.
And by Sunday afternoon, I was so hopeful because there was only one homicide by Sunday afternoon, and then 10 more happened.
So last week you had a race-baiting demagogue and disgrace to the Catholic Church, Michael Flager. He's still a father, unfortunately, still a priest. Staged a little protest, spill blood, fake blood in the form of SOS on the street, and call on Governor Ronner to declare a state of emergency and tell FOP President Dean Angelo Sr. that he can go right to hell for suggesting that Chicago police officers should not work overtime, should not volunteer for overtime over the Labor Day weekend. And then late last week, Father Flager thought better of his remarks and offered a sort of apology.
I regret using that language, absolutely. I am very angry and very disappointed at Mr. D'Angelo for his comments. I think he is putting everything we're trying to do back to square one with his comments like that, and people are feeling. I can't tell you how many people in the community said to me, "We just feel now like the police have said to go to the community to go to hell." So I regret the emotional response I made. I do not regret the anger and disgust at what he's saying and doing.
So that's
First of all, his name is D'Angelo. That's what he called him.
It's Dean Angelo. Father Flager should familiarize himself with people he's telling to go to hell, I would think. But that's what he said, and it's kind of a non-apology apology. I would put it in that category. Well, does Dean Angelo Sr. or D'Angelo, just single name,
D'Angelo,
as Father Flager calls him, does he accept his non-apology apology? Well, let's ask him. We're happy to be joined again by Chicago FOP Lodge 7 President Dean Angelo Sr. Dean, thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning. So what about Flager's comments and his sort of apology?
My plate is so full. I don't think I have any room for the good father. So, I know what he is attempting to do, and I know that he wants to negotiate a new contract for us beyond a list of other issues that he has as priority, but my list is quite long, too.
Well, what is he trying to do? What is he, for those that are less well-versed in the political antics of Father Flager and those similarly situated, what is he trying to do?
Well, I think it's a deflection of responsibility that we become part of the contributing factor to the violence by having our officers enjoy a 2-day weekend. Police officers are allowed to have 2 days off a week like everyone else. And by encouraging our girls and guys to stay home with their family for those 2 days, instead of voluntarily coming in to work one of the high crime areas of the city on one of those 2 days off, we become another contributing factor to the violence problem. And I think that's a huge leap, and that's a deflection on responsibility. The police are not responsible for the violence. We're not out there conducting these drive-bys. We're not out there, with the illegal weapons. And, you have to address the issues that are causal factors of this violence, and that's those illegal guns and the people that have them in their hands.
Well, Dean, how many police officers, men and women, stayed home and declined overtime this weekend?
Well, I don't have the official numbers or official statistics, but I think we had probably 188 officers put into work one of the 3 days. I don't know if we were able to get access to Monday. So they were probably down about more than 2/3 of what they generally get. And then there were cancellations made within that body of about 188 people. So they were probably less than 20, maybe 25% of what they generally have available for the 4-day weekend. But the department had enough lead time going in to make accommodations manpower-wise. Days off were canceled, as they generally are for holiday weekends because of our historic violence that occurs on holiday weekends. So the department was able to make necessary adjustments with that lead time to ensure that posts were manned and that there were no gaps in the deployment or the manpower levels that they were looking for.
Well, right. I mean, just to be clear, this isn't a case of blue flu, everybody using sick days or vacation days. This was just do your shift, but don't volunteer for overtime as a show of unity. Spend the time with your family.
Right. No one was told don't go in on your assigned duty date, although that was reported. We weren't telling people to call in sick, although that was reported. There's so much misinformation, go figure, out there on this that I did a Skype interview yesterday with some UK affiliate, and they were wanting to know how I wasn't taken aback by the people's disgust because they were told that the Chicago police killed 90 people in August.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, I think that would be a story.
Yeah,
if
that
the
would
Chicago
be.
police had
well,
killed 90
how many
people.
police-involved shootings have there been in recent months with Chicago police?
Chicago police have been involved in 11 police-involved shootings since January.
11 this year, and we've got 460-odd murders.
Right, and we're closing in on
3,000 shootings.
3,000 shot. But, we have, I remember reading something about, the tragedy involving Dwayne Wade's family, and he was talking about his kids. How do you convince your kids to not be afraid of the police? Well, look at the numbers. That false narrative that is out there that, hands up, don't shoot, that lie, that's grown a life of its own. If you look at the sheer numbers of all of the shootings that are going out there, my gosh, the police officers have been involved in 11 in a city where we have over 3,000, almost 3,000 people being shot. We confront those individuals doing the shooting, and we've only been involved in 11. That's an incredible story right there.
Well, nothing gets by Tiny Dancer, and apparently he got wind that there's a violent crime problem in Chicago because it was telegraphed last week that he is set to move on hiring a few hundred new police officers. What do you know about that? I mean, is that something that's real and it's going to happen in the near term?
I don't know how quickly it's scheduled to happen, but the sooner the better. We've been saying we're down, or we would like to see around 2,000 more. I don't know that that's going to happen, but we probably are going to lose in excess I would say at least 350, if not closer to 4 by the end of this calendar year. We've got 125 or so that are already declared that they're going to be gone by June of next year. We're probably looking at another 300 at least going next year. It's going to take several hires just to maintain attrition rates. And the academy isn't the largest building in the city, so it can only accommodate so many people. We're down less than 900 detectives, so we have to have a promotional class for detectives. There needs to be a massive hiring process, and the sooner it starts, the better off for the neighborhoods that are suffering the worst. Because the last numbers I saw, departmentally, it was around 2007.
When do you think we'll get some of...
From the superintendent all the way down to the last hire.
Yeah. And when do you think some of the districts will get their officers back? We live in 19th, and a lot of our officers have been reassigned to different districts. Is that going to happen anytime soon?
Well, your district actually blended with the old 23,
Right.
and what happened is, I think you have less people now than you did when both districts were separate. And the same thing happened with the 12th and the 13th district. When they blended them, there's more people. There were more people in the 12th district before the blending or the merging of those two districts than there are now between the 12th and the 13th district coming together geographically. So we are extremely understaffed.
Now, Governor Rauner has provided some state police to do kind of traffic patrol, as well as maybe some, it seems to me, correct me if I'm wrong, some back office support for Chicago police. But there are calls not just from the flaggers of the world, but from others suggesting that the National Guard should be called in. How do you react to these calls for a state of emergency, calls for the National Guard, calls for state police to back up the play of Chicago police officers?
Well, the state police took over the highways again, years ago, so they've been here for a while. They don't have the facilities or the personnel to work any sort of investigations. I believe there's 2 state police investigators that live within the cycle or the circle of the Cook County area. So they don't have a lot of personnel up here. And they're undermanned. Statewide, contractually, the state lodge is involved in a pretty heated discussions concerning their contract and their manpower needs. So I don't think there's a lot of people out there that they can lend us, even if they wanted to lend us. National Guard-wise, we're looking at, calling for a state of emergency. I don't think that they want to have any tanks going down Michigan Avenue or some kids in, helmets and military weapons walking down, the Magnificent Mile. That doesn't bode well. But something needs to be done. We're not going to arrest our way out of this. This is a situation that's generations in the making. This is something that they want the police to fix. They want us to fix your psychoses and your addictions and your marriage and get you a job. And we can't do that.
Right.
We're police officers, but they want to make us social workers and mental health experts. And they're putting so much responsibility on what used to be, law enforcement that I don't know when the bow breaks, but we're at that tipping point.
All right. Dean Angelo Sr., Chicago FOP Lodge 7 President. Dean, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is